Hey, Colorado Springs. This is Jenny Bayless, and we are back with part 3 of our Southern Colorado Investing Guide. This portion, we're going to talk about different investment strategies and which strategies we are seeing utilized most during this point in time. And again, this is spring 2023. So just wanted to give some examples out there so that people can start to think about what's being used and how they want to refine their strategy as such. So the first one is traditional buy and hold, long-term rental, LTR, all the same thing. This is probably what's most commonly thought of when thought of investment real estate. It's just your traditional rental properties that they're leased for about a year, sometimes longer, and they often come unfurnished. This strategy is definitely getting harder and harder to make work, although it is my favorite strategy. All of my properties are traditional long-term rentals. So we'll get into that in a few slides from now. Short-term rentals. These are furnished rentals that they're available from days to weeks, sometimes months, usually used as vacation rentals. And different Colorado localities are definitely becoming more and more restrictive on the allowability of these rentals. We had a podcast with a short-term rental manager. Probably about a year or so ago. So definitely reach out if you'd like a link. If you can't find it in our archives for that particular podcast, because it was very, very insightful as to the legislation that we're seeing around town. Medium-term rentals. So that is a rental that is furnished and it's rented on a 30-day or more lease. So it's commonly referred to as a corporate rental or nursing rental. It usually results in higher rent rates than just a traditional long-term rental because the investor is allowing the tenant to rent a furnished space on a very flexible lease. Most jurisdictions consider 30 days or more to legally be a long-term lease. So in that case, they're not subject to the short-term rental regulations. There may be HOA restrictions or other specific regulations to, a more particular, sub area that property is in. So you always want to check that. But it is a pretty popular method that we are seeing down here. And then room by room, the investor will rent out each individual room in a property on a separate lease. Generally results in higher cash flow than if the investor were to rent the property or unit on a single lease, along with more work on the investor's part and managing. So that is definitely the trade-off. You're probably going to get better cash flow because, on a per room basis, you're able to rent it at a higher, higher rate than just a traditional long-term lease would. But it's going to be a lot more work because now you have multiple leases on one property. And we're not going to dive into fix and flip, syndications or funds, or commercial real estate. And then probably one of the most powerful strategies that we're seeing right now is house hacking. It's a very, very popular strategy and used in expensive markets like Denver and Colorado Springs. And the reason for that is because there's generally more favorable lending. You can have a lower down payment and therefore a lower cost to enter the investment space and better rates and terms for an owner occupant. But you definitely need to understand your occupancy requirements with your lender. So make sure you ask your lender what the occupancy requirements are, how long you need to live in that property as your primary residence in order to get a primary residence loan. And just be very, very, ask a ton of questions related to that because you do not want to mess around with not following the rules associated with that primary residence loan. So variations of the house hacking strategy, this allows you to be very, very creative. It's a really neat, really neat set of tools to be able to master the house hacking strategy. So you could buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex, live in one of the units, rent out the others, buy a house, condo, townhouse, live in one room, rent out the other rooms. You could use AirBnB to rent out some rooms or a portion of your property. but make sure to follow your municipality's rules, of course. You could rent out the garage or RV parking pad. You could have multi-generational families living all in one property. And then you could always do the nomad strategy, which is when you buy a house, live in it for the required occupancy period, and then move out and turn it into a rental. So, anyone who's interested in doing house hacking strategy in Colorado Springs, reach out to us, ask us for a free copy. Our group, Envision, has an ultimate house hacking guide. So the way to do that is just ask info, INFO, at envisionrea.com. All right. So I wanted to go over a couple of sample properties that clients have very, very recently purchased. Either they're under contract now and haven't even closed yet, or they just closed. For example, this one just closed, I think, 3 days ago. So I just wanted to give some really up-to-date sample properties so that people can take a look at it and really understand what people are doing in this market. I know this market is tough, but there are options. So you just kind of have to figure out what would work for you if you want to invest in real estate in this market. So example one, we did a full podcast on it as well. So I will keep this part short, but is a long-term rental, is a duplex in Pueblo. I absolutely love this property. It is an 8.2% estimated cap rate on a long-term rental with property management in place. I have not seen that in I don't even know how long. That's probably one of the best returns we've ever seen, in quite a few years. So I think that's amazing. This person, he's going to rent out each unit at market rate, and then he's also able to rent out a garage space separately. So I think that's fantastic. He was able to really see the property for what it is and be able to generate additional monthly income from that garage. So I'm very excited for this investor. He's also expecting a 7.6% cash on cash return, even with a high interest rate. Is phenomenal. So no need to talk about this too much more since we have a whole podcast episode dedicated to it, but definitely check this out. Duplex in Pueblo with a long-term rental. I love it. All right. Example two. This is a room by room rental in Colorado Springs. So these investors, they are going to acquire it as a primary residence. They're going to live in it for the required 1 year period. And they found a property that could actually have several rooms created within it. So they had, unused space in the basement, and they're going to turn it into having additional bedrooms. So I think this is really exciting. And not only that, they're actually currently putting additional bedrooms in a different property. So they know exactly how much it's going to cost, and they know, what contractor can do this for them. So they're able to kind of do economies of scale a little bit on that, on the second property. So while they're living there, they're going to be paying about $550, actually like $530 per month in their own living expenses. And then once they move out, they're going to be cash flowing. It's actually expected to be about an 8 cap after they move out and rent out the bedroom that they're currently living in. So I think that's fantastic. They're only putting 5% down. They purchased it for $430,000. They were able to negotiate $12,000 in seller credit. So with acquisition costs and initial repair costs, their all in is about $44,000. They are currently getting a mortgage interest rate of 6.75%. And they are expected to rent out four of the bedrooms at $750 a month, and then the master bedroom at $900 a month. So they're expecting to be able to have total monthly income after they move out at about $3,900. They're paying for all the utilities, trash, landscaping, internet. They just want to make it simple. What the tenants are paying, your rent is your rent. You don't have to worry about some of the miscellaneous charges. So, this property, again, after they move out 5% down, they're expected to cash flow about $1,600 a year after that. So that's absolutely amazing. I'm very excited for these investors. Um, they What makes this property interesting as well is that it actually has the option to be a short-term rental. Yes, even in Colorado Springs after they've moved out. So it's kind of one of those rare properties that checks all the boxes. So they have a lot of optionality in that. So just wanted to kind of point that out, that it's kind of exciting. And then we have a house hack in Woodland Park. This one we also did a podcast on, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. But this individual, while he's living there, again, he's paying about $550 a month. And yeah, this property is going to cash flow after he moves out. But currently he's, like I said, paying about $550 for himself to live there. He has a lot of flexibility with this property. He can turn it into a short-term rental after he moves out. And then due to the location and the rules of this area, he could actually turn it potentially into a retreat location, which that's very interesting. I don't really know much on that. I believe that this individual does. So that's a really neat way to be able to pivot, use the use of this property. And, being in Woodland Park, that is just a beautiful area in and of itself. So just wanted to go over some properties that our clients are buying. We have a variety of different strategies. We have house hack, room by room, house hack. We have long-term rental, Colorado Springs, Woodland Park, Pueblo. So I just wanted to kind of give everyone a flavor for what is working today. Things are still working. So it's just kind of a matter of finding what works for your overall strategy and what, location and what model would work for you. So thanks so much, everyone, for listening to this series. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys have a better idea of what is going on in the market nowadays, and we'll hopefully be able to refine your strategy to fit your needs and to kind of adapt to what the market is giving us. So thanks, everyone. If you have any questions, please reach out. Jenny at envisionrea.com.